You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again. Today, we have a special guest. We have a true honor talking to Alison for Halen. She is an amazing guest for our show, I Am Refocused Radio. She helps small business owners attract, engage, and convert more leads online. We're going to learn everything about her today. So first and foremost, Alison, thank you for taking time. How are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
So kind of give our audience a little bit of a backstory about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so like you said, I do help people get found online and convert leads online. And I do that by writing content for their websites, lots of blog posts, lots of landing pages, making sure that content is Google friendly and also is actually engaging. So the real life people who find your website are going to have a better chance of actually reading it all the way to that call to action at the end. So you can have a better chance of converting them into leads. I completely fell into what I do. I had no idea this was an option. Majored in English and psychology in college, which just turned out to be the perfect degree for what I do now. But like I said, was not planning on this, had no clue this was an option. Thought I wanted to work in publishing. Graduated in 2009, right after the job market crashed. So there were no jobs to be had in publishing or really anywhere else. So ended up just answering phones. You know, it was a job. It was not a career. Ended up between jobs at one point, and my roommate at the time, her dad, who is an attorney, was awesome and offered to give me stuff to do around his office until I got back on my feet. And one of the things he needed was someone to write blog posts for his law firm. And he knew I had a strong writing background, so he offered me the gig, and I was more than happy to get paid to write. So I jumped at that chance. And the rest is history. I started writing for him and then for an associate of his and then for some friends of mine. And it just kept going from there. I did eventually get another day job, but I kept writing on the side and it kept growing until I could not do both anymore. So quit the day job about 8 years ago now, and I've been doing this full time ever since.
And a lot of people hear SEO and they're like, okay, what in the world is that? How do I even tackle that? For those listening to this, kind of explain how does SEO works and what is its proper use?
Yeah, so SEO stands for search engine optimization. It could be called Google optimization because Google does own 90 plus percent of the search market at this point. So most of the time when people talk about SEO, they're really talking about what does Google like and how are you going to get Google to like your content. The idea being that anytime, I mean, in our day and age, anytime anyone wants to know the answer to a question or wants to find a particular product or service, for most of us, our first stop is Google. We put it into that Google search bar. We try and figure out what it is or how it works or why we should care or where we can buy this product or service. So if you can show up on that first page of Google, there's a common saying that if you're not on the first page, you might as well be dead, because very few people click past, almost no one clicks past that first page, but it's extremely competitive. So getting on that first page is tough, but that's where a lot of leads come from. So if you can get on that first page, that's where the gold is.
And when entrepreneurs, businesses are using their website to generate content and blogging, is there a rule of thumb as far as how you should blog, the types of blogging, or is it kind of just free game? You just got to put something out there.
There are definitely rules. One of the biggest rules that I see people breaking all the time is to be consistent with it. Google wants to make sure that you are consistent with your content, as well as real life people. If they come to your website and they see that you haven't published a new blog post since last July, it's not going to look real good. So have a schedule, post consistently, ideally twice a month. Definitely no less than once a month. I mean, let's be honest, if you're not doing something once a month, chances are pretty good you're not doing it at all. So have a schedule, stick to it. Write content. Google really likes the really long, in-depth content. And I know a lot of people complain that no one reads long content, but actually the data shows that the longer the content is, the more time people do spend engaging with it. So it is worthwhile to invest in that longer content, both to show up in those searches as well as to engage the real life people who find your content because they want to get as much information as they can. So those are the two. There's a lot more to blogging than that, but those are the two big lessons that I would start with.
You can visit Alison's website as easy as avwritingservices.com. Again, that's avwritingservices.com. And with the blog posts, you can't stop there. There's some keywords you have to use. Kind of explain to our audience how to use keywords properly.
Yeah. So again, think back to what words you use when you are looking for something. What words are you typing into Google's search bar? Google will match up content that has those same keywords because it assumes that that content is going to answer your questions. Again, there's a lot more to SEO than that, but when you boil it all down to its essence, that is really what Google is all about. So it is imperative that you have those keywords in there and that you have them in the right places, namely your heading, your subheadings, your meta description. All of those need to have your keywords because people, and again, Google, are also going to read those pieces of content first to make sure that the rest of your content actually matches what they're looking for. So yeah, having the right keywords in the right places is of the utmost importance.
And on your website, you also provide webinars, and that I feel a lot of people should take more advantage of because there's a lot of value that they can take away from those. When you are doing yours, what's your style? Do you really go deep into details, or do you kind of spread it out with, here's one webinar and join us for the next one?
Yeah, I go pretty deep. I do, as of right now, I have 11 webinars planned out per year. I don't do one in around the holidays. So I'll do at least 10, if not 11 webinars. So I do want to make sure that I go as in depth as I can into one particular topic for each webinar that I do. The length varies. I just did one earlier today that ended up lasting about 45 minutes. In the past, I've had them be as short as 20 minutes. So it really depends on, how much content I can cover on a particular topic and make sure I really go in depth, with the goal being that by the time people leave, that they have everything they need to tackle that one issue on their own.
And with websites, we also hear backlinks, and that's another term that some people get afraid of. Can you explain to our audience what is a backlink for real, and how does that really help the website?
Yeah, so a backlink is when another website links to your website somewhere in their content on their website. And the reason that is so important is because Google tracks that. You can talk about how awesome you are all day long, but Google wants to make sure that other people are actually talking about you and using you as a reference and pointing people to your website saying, hey, here's an authority on the subject. If you want more information, go check out this website. That does way more for your authority than anything you could say or write on your website. So that's why it's so important. But it is also important to remember that Google assumes that, just like us humans, it assumes that like hangs out with likes. So if there are high quality websites that Google likes, that is ranking for relevant keywords, and they're linking back to your website, that's awesome. If there are low quality websites full of spammy content that Google does not like and it's not ranking for content and they're linking back to your website, that can actually hurt your ranking. So you want to use a tool. There are various tools out there online that you can use to keep track of those backlinks that you're getting, and any of those negative backlinks, you can disavow them. The link will still work if someone wants to click on it and follow through to your website, but it's just a way of telling Google, no, I'm not associated with this website. Please don't count it towards my SEO.
Again, you can go visit Allison's website. It's avwritingservices.com. And you mentioned earlier about graduating in 2009. That was a very unique time, especially if you're trying to look for a job.
Yeah.
When you had some success, though, later on, where you were writing blog posts for a client, I believe it was a business firm or a law firm.
A law firm, yeah.
Explain to the audience the process of that, because one, they have to trust you to kind of put their brand in your hands, and two,
Hmm.
you kind of are measuring what's working, what's not working.
Hmm. Yeah, so for that, because that was my very first time blogging professionally. So, and yeah, and it was for a law firm that did business law, and I did not know anything about business law or blogging for a law firm. So they had a bunch of blog posts already up on their website that they had been writing themselves. So I went through those blog posts and got an idea of the kinds of topics they were covering, and as well as the writing style that they were using, as well as figuring out what a call to action was and how to work that into the content. I would just turn those in to that client. I would write it up in a Word document, hand it over to them. They would usually finesse it until it was something they really liked, and then they would put it on the website. So I was not in charge of tracking, other than, I mean, the feedback I got from them was like, we can't say things like this, or make sure you have a better call to action, that kind of feedback. But as far as stats and, whether or not it's getting an effect for them, I did not track that. I do know that after 6 months, the guy who hired me came back and told me that I had brought in $75,000 worth of business to his law firm just through the blog posts that I was writing for him. And I was writing about 2 to 4 blog posts per month for him at that point. So when I say that blogging can be effective, an effective way to get business, I know that from experience.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty legit. I would be very happy if that was me too. So,
Right?
that's awesome. You also have a video on YouTube where you kind of explain 3 reasons why people should be blogging for their own business, and kind of touch again why business owners should delegate work to professionals who can help them in the area where they may not even have time to kind of give that quality out there.
Yeah, my business coach always says that you should not spend a lot of time doing something okay or not very well when you can hire someone to do the same thing better and in a shorter amount of time. Um, Blogging is something that is very time consuming. Even for me, there's no getting around the fact that most blog posts take me at least half an hour to an hour to write, half an hour on a good day. Most of the time it's closer to 45 minutes to an hour. And that's just me. A lot of my clients, if they were to do it themselves, it would take them all afternoon or even all day. So there's no point in wasting all of that time when I can get it done in much less time, and I can do it better because I've been doing this specifically for close to 10 years now. Actually, it's been more than 10 years if you count the time I was doing it on the side. So there's, even for those with good writing skills, there's a difference between writing skills and marketing skills and SEO skills. So the fact that I can marry all 3 of those together and create these blog posts that are actually effective, just makes it that much more valuable.
You also train your clients with helping them and their team brand with voice guidelines. Explain what
Mhm.
that means to our audience, and how that also can help things flow better.
Yeah, so it's all about standing out online and making sure that you don't sound like everyone else in your industry. That's all about branding. I compare it to a TV, one of my favorite TV shows. I was watching like the extra information that they give on one of the episodes, and one of the writers was talking about the fact that when they handed in, they were working on a script and they initially had a line attributed to one character, and then they moved stuff around and attributed that same line to a different character. And when another writer read that script, they could immediately tell that the line was attributed to the wrong character, because each character had such a strong voice and a unique way of talking that it was immediately recognizable to anyone who was familiar with that show. And branding, when done right, should be the same way. I mean, yes, your logo should be all over everything so everyone can tell that it's coming from your company. But when you have a really strong, well-defined brand voice, it should be clear that that content is coming from your brand rather than someone else, even if your logo is not there. It's all about maintaining that consistency in everything that you do. And again, standing out from the crowd.
And last question for you, when it comes to experience that you've gained from '09 to today, current times, you also offer speaking engagements and also virtual speaking engagements where you can really kind of do more training for people and just kind of help explore them in the world of SEO and content marketing, blogging. Call to action. How can someone listening right now, they need you desperately. They need you to kind of rescue them into getting better blog posts and just learning all about marketing for their brand online. How can they contact you and be a good fit?
Well, you mentioned my website, which I appreciate. It is AV, as in my initials, Alison Verhalen. So that is avwritingservices.com. You can check that out. All my contact information is on there if you like what you see and decide to reach out, as well as my webinars, which, like I said, I have one coming up every month. So if you are interested in the next one coming up, by all means, go ahead and register for that. You can also watch the recordings. Those are all up on YouTube, available for anyone to access. And I'm on LinkedIn all the time. So you can look me up, Alison Verhalen, on LinkedIn. I have yet to find another Alison Verhalen, especially since Alison is spelled with one L. There are not many of us out there. So look me up on LinkedIn and you'll find me.
You listen to Refocus Radio, talking to our guest, Alison Verhalen, and you go to her website, like she said, avwritingservices.com. Real quick, you and your brand, what are you looking forward towards the most and a short-term goal that you want to take your brand to the next level?
That's a good question. And I always struggle with this question because last year I published a book, which was a really big life goal that I accomplished. So now it's kind of like, man, how do I top that? More speaking gigs and bigger speaking gigs. I did last year get on stage at a conference in front of about 200 to 300 people, which was awesome and a lot of fun. So I would love to do more speaking like that. Definitely looking to do more of that. So as a short-term goal, yeah, I would put that at the top of the list.
I also want to say thanks again to Alison being on Refocus Radio, taking time in your schedule talking to us today.
Thank you so much for having me.